Streaming through the digital night, Jim Bustle, he's guiding the light, unveiling mysteries of the unknown, UFOs in the alien zone. He's a man on a mission, exploring ancient secrets, it's his addiction. Debating, discussing with his loyal crew. Cosmic conversations, unveiling the truth.
So everybody, welcome back to another episode, a special edition, and we are joined this evening, of course, by Mr. Galentv. Welcome for the Skiz0 Sunday.
Thanks for having me once again.
It's always good to have you, bro. A special episode. Is the world gonna end tomorrow? Hopefully not.
You say hopefully or hopefully not?
Hopefully not.
Okay, I didn't hear the not part. I was about to say hopefully. Oh boy.
Depending on our moods.
Quite a different perspective.
Yeah, depending on our moods, of course. Welcome everybody to Word Drinker Shadows, did you?
Yeah, depending on how exactly the day went beforehand. You're not sure whether you want the world to end or to keep going. Generally keep going, I think.
Yeah, we're going to try and stay positive here. Now, there's other people interpreting different things from things like biblical literature that seem convinced that this may be the harbinger of the end times, this eclipse. We'll get into that this evening. Talk about eclipses and some other things tied in with it. So, yeah. Welcome to my living room. It's always good to be in your living room, bro. It's always good. It's always a privilege. Why tomorrow? Well, again, about the eclipse tomorrow. Maybe not everybody who's in North America knows this, but yeah, there is an eclipse. It's going to be going through pretty much all of North America. At least it's going to go from the southwest up to the northeast of the continent. And yeah, it's a big deal. So yeah, and this hasn't happened for 54 years, I think. We'll get into that now. Oops, I meant to be doing this. Not that, and then this. Ooh, look at this cool picture that I found. This was taken, I think it was Australia, if I'm remembering correctly. Yes, the Milky Way in the skies of Western Australia. Now, obviously, you can't see this, unfortunately, to that degree with the naked eye. They're like overexposed photos, but still pretty brilliant. Just the fact that that's even out there, you know. I gotta get the chat. There we go. Okay. So cool, man. So cool. You know. And listen, if for whatever reason something does happen tomorrow, the universe is a big place, right? Maybe we'll carry on somewhere else afterwards. Nothing's gonna happen tomorrow. The sun's just gonna go dim shortly. Yeah.
Unless. That was all I had, was unless.
Unless, yeah. That's well. Unless, yeah.
Oh, maybe it's not the eclipse itself. It's just things that might come after the eclipse. Might be what's got some people freaked out anyway.
Well, yeah, and we'll get into that here, I guess. It's going through my city. I have to see when tomorrow. Yes. I saw this. Maybe this is a symbol of the coming end times. A new "Fuck Trudeau" sign has emerged outside of Calgary International Airport. The farmers there decided to imprint this into the field. They ran out of space, but that's okay because it still fit in the end. We got the message. You know, that's essentially all we can say. Yeah. Brilliant, huh? I saw this. I was like, man, yeah. Barely can spell. Well, they just ran out of space, bro. Yeah.
It got crammed. I see the AU at the end there now.
Yeah.
It took me a second. I was like, why didn't they just say fuck Trudes? But I think Trudeau.
Yeah.
Trudeau.
Who's this? Morgan? Morgan, you try fucking writing that into a goddamn field. See how you do. Yeah. Yeah, man.
It's like what all the crop circle guys did in the UK. They would go and they would do something like that, except we're trying to. I don't think there's any deception here. I think they made their intentions very clear with this in the farm field. It is motherfuck Justin Trudeau and maybe motherfuck the rest of his family. I don't know, but certainly. Maybe the whole Trudeau family. I mean, that might be a bit far, but
was this humans who did this? Right? It is technically a form of a crop. I wouldn't say it's a circle, but
it's crop message.
Crop message? Maybe this was the A's. They just also ran out of space. They said, "Fuck it, fuck it." Yeah. Begins in 16 hours. Oh my. The A's. Yeah, that's. Nice. Yeah, I just got that. The A's. Yeah, that's right.
Is it like Canadian aliens?
it was the Canuck aliens. Whatever they look like, whoever we've been interacting with. Some very laid back version of the Greys, maybe. Some very sloppy, laid back version of the Greys. the Canalians, yeah. Oh my god, look at both the Canalians, yeah. Fuck, got him. Ingenuity. I don't know why I put this up. I thought this is funny as fuck, though. This is very well played, Britain. The ULEZ in the UK, for people that don't know, these things are like tracking carbon emissions. They covered cameras at bat boxes authorities not allowed to remove under their own law. So I guess for whatever reason they can't remove these technically.
Wait, what?
Yeah, so these ULEZ are little boxes that track like your carbon emissions essentially in your vehicles. Yeah. And what they did was put this box over it, which I believe has something to do. Let's see. All bat species, their breeding sites and resting places are fully protected by law. You can get an unlimited fine. You may not be able to get license from Natural England. So essentially, you cannot avoid disturbing them or damaging their habitats, or if you want to survey or conserve them. So they put these boxes up for bats conveniently over the ULEZ, and then you technically can't remove them, and they're over these things. So yeah, brilliant idea. People thinking. They were just taking them down and throwing them out, but yeah.
So if they put the sensor and then they put the back box over top of it, and you can't take the bat box down because it's a protected species, so you can't disturb its environment. But doesn't the sensor then disturb its environment?
That's a good question. That might be getting into more detail, but I don't know. So then would you then have to remove the sensor?
You're saying they could just find, like, we found the last living dodo bird, and we're going to just put our climate change sensor in this dodo bird's nest. Now, we can't move that because it's already part of the nest.
Fuck.
Now, the dodo bird's been long extinct, though, but...
Yeah.
You suppose.
Thinking inside the box. It is
that's the new political meta, is just invade whatever environment, endangered species, set up your base of operations there, but you can't come in here. It's a protected habitat.
Yeah, fuck. Yeah. Or use that as an excuse to cover up, right? Like, yeah, it's
oh yeah, that's where they could start dumping like bodies and whatnot too. No, you can't dig and look for the corpse here. This is a protected species. This is the habitat.
You start cutting people up and put them in the bat boxes. Holy Christ. Anyway, that's a dark turn, but fuck the people putting these things in and trying to corral the middle class.
Well, they've invented a new way to circumvent the law. That's quite the idea. It's quite a creative idea.
It's a brilliant idea. Yeah. So for people in the UK, there you go. If you got one of those in your locale and you're getting charged up the ass for that big Escalade you're driving around in, bat box. There you go.
Bat box on the roof rack.
Bat box on the roof rack. Yeah. Yeah. Fuck. There you go. Use that roof rack for something, right? So I guess now we're into like all the fucking memes about the Eclipse. So where is the actual there's a fuckload of them, and I know Galentv have some of them too.
Yeah, we could start with the Grindstone. That might be a good one to start with.
Yeah, okay. So I mean, obviously this is where the Eclipse path is going. That's very small. I know this is a video maybe watch later, but it's going down here. So southwest, kind of Mexico up through the middle of the United States, and then right over us in Atlantic Canada, actually. So where's the Grimes one? Where did I put that? I just had that, didn't I?
Yeah, I'm gonna send you one. I found like an updated one.
Oh, okay.
Because there's two tablets.
So, for people who don't know, this Grimes girl, I don't really know her music, but she was married to Elon Musk or was with him or as a kid with him or something. I don't remember. But she had released this album, I guess it was, Galentv.
I think that's what it was. It was viral marketing for an album that she was going to release.
Yeah. So you can see now why people thought it was interesting. Maybe people were thinking maybe she's part of the Illuminati or something, and this is some kind of foretelling of future events, right? And they're using this album as a way to do it. So one of the interesting things that people tied together was they had the virus vaccine narrative. So they had these, I'm assuming this is like media. So they got microphones, headphones, plus IO. I don't know what that means. Then they got plus a virus. Then they got plus vaccines equals UFOs. Right? And a popular meme floating around was that there was a couple of distractions. The first one was a virus. The other one was vaccines. And it was UFOs, right? Alien disclosure. This all happened before then. I think this was in, when did this come out? In 2020 or something? 2019? Something along those lines. Yeah. It's like, if that's correct. What were some of the other interpretations here, though? Yeah, do we know?
So I think the one on the left is the original one, and I'm not sure what the one on the right came from. Maybe that's like an updated one or a rearranged one, if you will. I was trying to find what IO was. I thought IO was maybe the album or maybe a song on it, but I can't remember. So I thought like the microphone and the headphones and the recording was a recording of a song, and then following that would have been does that look like a little, like, what do they call petri dishes?
Yes.
That they use? Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's
You
what
have
it's
that.
implying, yeah.
And then they have the little DNA, the double helix, followed by what appears to be some kind of germ or some kind of virus.
Yeah.
And then you add in the 3 syringes to the UFO. That's what we talked about.
Yeah.
That's what we were just talking about, was that we thought that was. Now, I don't know what the I won't say no. Well, nonsense that's underneath that, the line that's underneath it with like the bow and arrow, the little sword, the hammer, the 2 swords, the shield, it's a butcher's knife.
I don't know
I can't make out what the other ones.
I don't know what those are either,
Yeah, I can't make out what those are. And then followed by what appeared to be a feeling of anger, surprise, question mark, and then somebody throwing up, and then they feel better. And they feel real good after that. Followed by what appears to be an eclipse on the moon, or a month cycle. Well, it would be a cycle, but an eclipse. After that, there was what they have is 2 dragons. I think there's supposed to be a flower in between them, but like,
there is. Yeah.
Followed by, I can't remember what that thing at the bottom is. Followed by a couple of hazardous material warning signs or radioactive signs, often used in nuclear weapons, often used to depict nuclear weapons.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
I wondered if the row underneath the UFO had talked about was, I wouldn't say that would be the Ukraine-Russia war, but I wonder if that would be the Israeli-Hamas war.
Some kind of conflict. It might be what it implies.
Conflict.
I mean, obviously, this was written by like a 25-year-old fucking pop star. But, but what people were memeing about, this was all over the internet, the chans, and people were thinking that this was some kind of communication here. And then I guess they were hoping that, well, some people weren't hoping, but that this is leading to some kind of apocalypse. Now, obviously, you've got the eclipse, right? Eclipse or phases in the moon. It's hard to tell which we're looking at here. I think definitely an eclipse is what this implies. And then after the eclipse, there's a dragon, and then I think there's a rocket. Is I think what's down there now. On the other one here, it looks like it might be a flying saucer, but I think it was a rocket and then a period mark. And then on the original one, it was nuclear weapons. So, we can speculate.
The one on the right, I think, is an updated one that was. I don't think it's that old, but I think it was a. Was it last year that it was sent out? But you can kind of make out some of the stuff on it a little bit better. For instance, you can see like the spider heart. I don't know what the spider heart's supposed to be. Light bulb idea. Cash money. Winky, smiley face, tongue sticking out. Followed by the same sequence that we have there, followed by the conflict sequence, followed by the sick illness sequence. But what they have is they have a little bit of stuff different at the bottom. Yeah. And instead of the rocket, I don't know, that almost looks like another like flying saucer underneath the two dragons and the flower.
Yeah, it does look like a flying saucer, yeah.
Then we have rocket ship, what appears to be the planet Saturn, rocket ship, and then another planet. Double helix, small little face.
That's an infinity symbol. That's an infinity symbol, I think.
Oh, that makes way more sense than what I thought. I thought that was like a little face. I thought that was a little alien. I was about to say that's a little alien.
Could be.
Followed by another face with a heart, and then I can't make out that last little symbol. But notice that there is no end to this tie.
There's a robot. It's a robot face, a heart.
Oh,
it looks like
that's right. It's
maybe
a robot face,
ghost, but hard to tell what that is.
Is that a ghost in the machine? A ghost
that's
in the shell, if you will?
Yeah, potentially. So, what we're implying, did the Illuminati try and warn us that something's going to happen after the eclipse? Is this a significant event? Because that's what we're getting to here, I guess. We'll paint the picture for people that some people, we're not necessarily implying this ourselves, but some people think that this is an important event, right? And people who are into studying the occult and the elite and rituals and Masonic rituals and all that shit, that this would be a highly regarded thing, right? It's not going to happen again for another like 40 years, roughly 30 years, maybe 30, 40 years. And that this would be something that they would maybe do something on, or something that would hold significant in the timeline of events that they have planned out. So
our fellow resident Skiz0, the man who used to go by Krieg League, has told me that often what needs to be done when these kinds of situations is that often the powers that be, the rulers of the people, if you will, the secret rulers, the secret society, the shadow government, whatever you want to call it, is that supposedly what they need to do is they need to tell everybody what they're about to do before they do it, to give them fair warning. But they do it in like a cryptic way, and they say, well, if you're not smart enough to figure it out, then you deserve to have whatever it is that's going to happen to you. Right. So the tablet here then is to say, look, this is what's going to happen. We're telling you it. We're telling you it's going to happen. And the people might go like, you know what? This is just some stupid viral marketing. You know, this is viral marketing for whatever the album is. It just means nothing. It's a bunch of random emojis. Who could decipher such things? Why would they use emojis? Why would they not just tell us? This is clearly a fabrication. And they go away, and then the powers be, they go like, we told you. Looks like you won't be making it into the next phase with us.
Right. And the basis for that logic comes from people thinking that the people ruling right now were heavily influenced by the Illuminati, right? By these groups of intellectuals who used to hold these secret meetings back in the 1700s. And if you wanted to join their ranks, you'd have to solve a bunch of riddles, right? You'd need to prove to them that you were clever enough to be able to sit and have conversation with them. So the same kind of logic applies with these little hints. So this is a conspiracy theory that the people in power are employing these kinds of hints to the general public, because the people that are smart enough might be able to figure it out beforehand. Maybe they'll survive, right? Maybe they'll get to safety, etc., right? But they're going to be, and I think it's a way of admonishing like responsibility maybe on their part from doing terrible things and being like, well, again, like you just said, well, they were all stupid anyway. Like this is a thinning of the herd. The people that were smart enough paid attention. The people that weren't got thinned, right? So then the net result is we have a group of people left over that are very intelligent, moves the species forward, and that's how they would look at things. They're like, well, we're at the top of the heap here. We're trying to sift through all of the bad genes. We're trying to like we're just playing with God, right? We're just aligned with nature. We just want to try and make the best species that we can possibly make. And if you all fall for this bullshit, you weren't smart enough, and therefore you were part of the ones that got, thinned. And like that's obviously, yeah.
You know what another word for that is? There's
What?
a word for it.
What's the word?
Eugenics.
Eugenics. Yeah. And yes. And that's why people call them eugenicists, because they advocate that there are too many people and that the herd needs to be thinned so as to create a stronger stock, and then also it's easier to control fewer people. So yeah, that argument's before. So again, there's a side to that, obviously, as me and Galentv know very well, that like there's a side to that you could argue is very legit. Like there's a side to it that isn't necessarily a conspiracy, because there were tons of accredited people that, and through the 70s and 80s, talked about this, and they weren't like saying outright, let's kill everybody, but it was like kind of they were wargaming, it's probably the wrong word, but it was like a theoretical thing where like, well, what if we did this?
It's not an experiment.
Yeah, it was an experiment. Yeah. Oh, sorry. Yeah, no, it wasn't, but they were just experimenting. It was a theoretical thing, but some people
thought experiment.
Thought experiment. Sorry, I didn't hear the first part.
Yes.
Yeah. So thought experiment, but some people think there's been a group of elites who have taken it beyond a thought experiment and actually implemented it. Me, welcome. Alberta had eugenics up until the 80s. Oh, Jesus.
What was Alberta doing with the up until then?
I mean, yeah, there's
Do you have to have certain marks to reproduce in school? Is that what's going on?
Alberta eugenics, really? Were they researching it? Maybe. I mean, obviously, and I think this isn't like a super far out one, really. Eugenics Board was an agency created by Alberta in 1928 that attempted to impose sterilization on disabled subset of its... Oh my God, really? Disabled subset of its population in accordance with the principles of eugenics, or made into active in 1972. Holy shit, I didn't know that. Said it believes they need to improve the genetic quality of human population. So again, that's fucked. I didn't know that. Yeah. Oh man, like with the Native American children with the Catholic schools in the northern parts of Canada. That's whole fucking thing.
The residential schools. That's what they're called, weren't they?
Yeah. Yes. There was some dark shit that you can almost argue occultic stuff going on there. Very strange. The Catholic Church has been accused of that. Obviously, they have a long history going back to a bunch of strange, perverted fucking shit. So, yeah. Again, I think for a lot of people, this one isn't like the whole idea of eugenics in that the group of elite people are going to think this way. I mean, if you're sitting at the top of the heap, obviously you're very intelligent, right? Maybe you've been privileged, but I think more than likely the people sitting at the top of the heap here are very intelligent, and they're probably aiming to improve the world to some degree. I mean, so I not necessarily subscribe that they just want to destroy absolutely everything. But they might be interested in destroying people that they deem to be lesser than, which I think is just completely destructive and absolutely, it's going to end inevitably in a fucking apocalypse, but their intention may not be that. So, this one, and then this is what we get at here, is that these people own the music industry, and because of that, once in a while, they use their pawns, they prop up, and then put these messages through, right? So, what do you think of all that, TV? Like, what do you think of this?
Kind of going back to the sterilization that we just said in Alberta. That was one of the few things that I kind of bought about the that seemed like it was pretty plausible out of the that particular illness and the
Yes.
cures of that particular illness.
Yes.
Was a lot of people talked about it, that it would be a mass like culling, but that never made sense to me, because you can't have that big drop in the population, or like a sudden drop in population like that,
No.
because automation's not good enough. It's pretty good, but it's not great. But what would happen, it would have made way more sense if you sterilized a generation.
Right.
There was a TV show, I think, actually, that talked about it. I think it was on Amazon Prime. I don't remember what it was called, but it did have your guy, Rainn Wilson, in it.
Oh, Jesus. Right.
And they were talking about a very similar situation that played out or a possible situation that was playing out to what happened with that particular illness that was going around. And they said that that if you get people to take the cure for it, that if you willingly get them to take it, that what happens is they put some kind of they make it so that it would sterilize a large number of people that would take it, and then that would be how you do population control from it. So it's not an immediate thing; it would happen over like a couple generations.
Even the virus in and of itself, right? Like, could be something that potentially, if unleashed, if engineered, could over time whittle away at people's immune systems or cause issues with fertility in general, and then that would do it. And this is obviously that's like implying a big conspiracy, but you know, this is not uncommon. Like the Nazis did this. Actually, there's been tons of groups that have done this over the years that they've imposed, or even in the last century, let's say, governments that have imposed these kinds of measures onto specific groups in their populations.
What do you think the whole royal bloodline thing was about?
Well, yeah, exactly. Well, and that's, and that's something I think maybe in plain sight too that people forget, but you do have these bloodlines that consider themselves to be royal. And when you really think about that for a minute, what that means is it means they're above you. They have the right to rule. They've been bestowed upon them, usually by the church, FYI, for people that don't know that, but by God, ultimately, right? So they have these royal bloodlines, this royal blood that allows them to commune with God, or maybe you can go back even further, and you could say polytheistic, the gods, right? Anyway.
I thought the royal bloodline was that you were like a direct descendant of a god or god, but that might be pharaohs that I'm thinking of.
Well, no. So it goes back, right? So it would start with, I'm not an expert on the European bloodlines, but it goes back, people supposedly, and this is, I'm not talking like David Icke here, I'm talking like more credited people, supposedly are able to trace it back to Mesopotamia. Is because that's where you can kind of get back to many of these royal bloodlines that came out of Europe. They ultimately came out of Mesopotamia. And then you could also potentially argue Egypt as well. But Mesopotamia is like the cradle of civilization, in that the blood then came from the gods. Yeah. And the people ruling afterwards were given the right to rule because they had the blood of the gods, essentially. So, and they like polytheistic gods, not just one god. It became a monotheistic thing after the church got involved and then rejigged thing. Well, the Hebrews kind of went from polytheism to monotheism, and then that trickled down into Christianity. And then we started just worshiping one god instead of multiple gods, many gods. But anyway, yeah. So then you've got a group of people out in the world, right? And not just in Europe, but there's other royal bloodlines that exist in the Middle East and in Asia, probably in Africa, all over the world. And that these people literally think that they're above you because of that. So then, what kind of influence, wealth, power do these people have, and what would they do really with that kind of mindset? There's a darker side to it. Yeah. From a long line of inbreeding and racism. Yeah, man. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Nephilim blood. Well, literally. Yeah. And there's another, well, the blue bloods is something that, supposedly, again, this is getting into murkier waters, but that these wealthy European families refer to themselves as the blue bloods, and implying that like their blood is different because they carry this lineage that goes back all the way to wherever. You could theoretically go back to Mesopotamia, which is the cradle of civilization, which is where we think people started doing shit like this. So crowning themselves king because I have the right to rule because I have the blood of the king, or the blood of the gods, right? Or I've been I have been, my bloodline has been chosen by God or the gods to rule, right? Because of X, Y, and Z. Yeah.
If I may, for just a moment,
Yes.
just to talk about Mesopotamia as the cradle of civilization.
Yes.
Are you forgetting about Teotihuacan or Pumapunku or
Yes.
what was the other site? What was the other one that was older? or that
Tiwanaku. There's Tiwanaku. There's Pumapunku.
Is it
there's-
Tiwanaku? Okay.
No, Machu Picchu is a very old one. That's the one up in the
Okay.
mountains there, like the very picturesque kind of site.
Machu Picchu, Teotihuacan, Tiwanaku.
Thank you, David. I forgot about those. Yeah. Technically, according to us, those sites are more recent than Samaria, but
Okay.
there's a lot of people like Pumapunku in specific, or should say specifically, maybe much, much, much older than any of the ziggurats that are in ancient Samaria right now. Like, I think conservative estimates by some put that fucking site at like 12,000 years. But obviously that's contended by some other people and academics who are convinced that it's only like fucking 1,000 years old or something.
Or my favorite, sexy woman.
Sexy Oman, yeah, that's another one. Yeah, but all sites of the gods, though, right? As you were right to point out, that those are all sites associated with the gods, supposedly like the Easter Island heads of the Moai, built by the giants who were the gods again. So anyway, we're talking about the fucking eclipse, so right? Talking about
I didn't really
eclipse.
answer your question about the tablet. Now that I think
Same.
about it.
Yeah.
I mean, to be perfectly honest, it just seems like coincidence to me. But it's fun to play around. The syringes with the UFO was kind of interesting. The sequence just of the Petri dish, the double helix, the virus followed by syringes to the UFO is pretty interesting because that did happen in that order. Those were kind of the major events that happened in that order. The only thing that you could say is that you could say the Russian-Ukraine war happened in between the syringes and the UFO. So
They did, yeah. Now,
the following after that, the thing I can't figure out is what is the person like puking, the like feels bad, then the surprise, and then the person puking, and then you just feel good after that. Then it's a sensation of love. But I don't know what that's supposed to be. Is it that we got sick and then we're happy that we got better? Does that mean that we survived?
it could be some societal breakdown, maybe. Turbo cancer, did you think? Uncertainty, maybe.
Yes, that's right.
It could be that. It could be cancer. It could be uncertain. It could be a societal breakdown, potentially, where you've got different groups of people in society that are like, you've got one extreme to the other, potentially. It could imply another, I don't know what else it could imply, really, going from question mark to sickness to happiness into elated into very happy. Lovely. Rich
It
people
could be like a
celebrate.
purging, because that's what like throwing up usually is supposed to represent, isn't it? Like that you're purging the
poison?
for lack of a better phrase, the toxins.
Mm.
I hate using that phrase, toxins.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, maybe that could be it. Now, you know what I think you know what I'm going to tell you is the most interesting part on this for me. The dragon after the eclipse.
Yeah, I was about to say. Well, we talked about the UFO, and you didn't say that.
No.
So maybe it might be the dragons.
Dragon is
Now,
interesting.
what are the dragons supposed to be?
Well, that's a good question. So for me, I definitely would argue this, and I think dragons throughout history, and this is one of those arguments where, unfortunately, I'm not a fucking anthropologist, but I'm not really on board with the possibility that there were physical dragons back in medieval times and we were fighting them, breathing fire and flying around. That'd be cool. But I think there's a lot of very good evidence to support the fact that dragons were in fact comets. That comets were equated with dragons. And I can go back and you can kind of show this to people, specifically with Typhon. Typhon is really, I would definitely argue, he's a Greek, or at least a Mediterranean monster that Zeus had fought, that I think is pretty good representation of what the modern dragon kind of started to look like. Now, the Chinese have their own interpretations of dragons as well. Some other cultures do, but a lot of them point to comets. So that dragons were just essentially comets. Or you could argue, maybe if you wanted to go a step further, one comet in particular that made people come up with the idea of a fire-breathing dragon wreathing in the sky and covering the world with fire. And it was red in color, right? And that's a common theme throughout, actually, the globe when it comes to depictions of the dragons. Yeah. I almost got through with it. We're going to finish watching the last. I essentially went through it. Did you? Yeah. I know what the conclusion was. And I was going to comment on that too, actually. Maybe I'll just comment on that quickly right now. The Anunnaki Y-Files episode.
Did he talk about the Atuwa?
No. Whoever researched it, I didn't think that was the best job. Some of the points they brought up in regards to specifics, whether it's to the people, the gods, or the planet, he got some of it. There's some parts of it I don't know where they got the information from, because that wasn't anything that Sitchin had believed. And he dug into Sitchin at the end as well, into his credibility, which I think you have to do when you go through the Anunnaki story, the Nibiru story, and that he wasn't an accredited person to interpret cuneiform texts. They got into even the fact that he may have not actually been an economist at all. He may have even lied about that. So my whole opinion on that, I thought it was okay, but I thought it was a little bit poorly researched, and there were some things they should have brought up that they didn't bring up, like Sitchin's involvement with the two astronomers looking for Planet X / Planet 9 now. That the two astronomers that went looking for Planet X were involved directly with Sitchin, because they were pretty convicted that he did stumble onto something related to the object. Now, they didn't agree with some of his interpretations, like its orbital duration, 3,600 years. But Tom Van Flandern and Robert Harrington were both directly involved with him. There's an interview that I have on the Discord, people want to watch it, where Sitchin sits down and interviews Robert Harrington. And he knew his work well, and he had supposedly, and this wasn't a part of the interview that they released, but during that interview, he had told Sitchin and the camera, I guess, that when he started to get hung up in his research trying to find a planet, he would go back and reach for Sitchin's books, the Earth Chronicles, specifically the 12th planet, to try and give him some inspiration as to, like, well, where could it be? What could its makeup be, etc. So they definitely all thought he was onto something. So it's not a complete load of bullshit. And in regards to that, now this is more bullshit. Okay, so there's always there's groups of people who, after Sitchin came out with the book, and after people started looking for Planet X, they came to the conclusion that this planet is inbound now, right? So these are people trying to, like, create some kind of catastrophe, and that it's in the inner solar system. So there's one person in particular who I had up here a second ago and I just closed, but who has been saying this since 2003, that the planet, this Nibiru, Sitchin's Nibiru, has actually returned, and it's in the inner solar system, right? It's around the orbit of Venus, and the aliens have been hiding it from us because they're worried that the elite are just going to kill us all if we see it. Which this is level 10 Skiz0, by the way. Anyway, they think during the eclipse we're going to be able to see the planet. The planet will be revealed to us. And I think that is way out on fucking the fringes, beyond the fringes. Personally, I don't think there's any evidence that it's returned whatsoever. But you do have to always, you can't completely discount that, because we don't know. Maybe the aliens are concealing it. Maybe they're acting as this great deceiver in this, and that they're trying to, like, hold us out on this until the last moment, and that it reveals itself. But I would bet against that.
What would the aliens have to gain from that, then?
The idea in Nancy Lieder's lore is that there's a Council of Worlds or a Galactic Federation, and this Earth has been deemed to be a new world. It's deemed to progress further, like go up a level. And so after these cataclysms, what's going to happen is survivors that are kind of deemed worthy, they're going to be in line with this kind of, the good aliens, essentially. they're going to help rebuild the planet, and it's going to be this haven. It's going to become a part of this Galactic Federation properly. So what they're doing, this isn't her story, by the way. I just fucking think I'm not on board with this whatsoever. But that this council, essentially beings on the other side of the simulation, have decided that because the world has become so compromised, because the world is completely compromised by these evil people, and most of us have no idea how bad it actually is, they're going to conceal the fact the planet has returned from not just us, but these elite. Because if they knew where it was exactly and when it was going to precisely come by, they would have had us all in concentration camps 20, 30 years ago. They would have completely dismantled the economy, and nobody would have been able to survive. And then that next world would have been doomed, because all the people that were coming in here to help with it would have just been killed, corralled. We would have ended up in a prison planet. So instead, they chose to make this decision to conceal this whole event from everybody, from everything, essentially, until the last moment. And then they'd reveal it, and that would catch everybody off guard. And in that chaos, then maybe the whole system would crumble. Now, there's a million fucking problems with that narrative, right? There's some pretty obvious ones, obviously, in that the second that they reveal it to everybody, well, this elite's just gonna fucking, if this actually occurs, then they're just gonna put the hammer down, and it's gonna be chaos, and everyone's gonna fucking die anyway. On top of all the other problems that, you know, her whole Nibiru is straight out of Sitchin's handbook, and none of it makes sense when you know anything about orbital dynamics. And I've conversed with some people who are very knowledgeable in this. One of the guys who's actually looking for the planet right now, and he said, no, that doesn't make any sense. The orbit, it would be too unstable. It would have left the solar system instantly. So anyway, nice try, Nancy and Zachariah. But anyway, that's the far out on this. If we want to go right out. So again, you could look at this and you could say, oh, maybe she's been reading a little bit too much Nancy Leader, and after the eclipse, the dragon's going to reveal herself. Yeah, shots fired. Absolutely. Direct headshots.
Nancy Leader just got blown the fuck out on stream.
Yeah.
Right here now.
Yeah, no. Absolute fucking headshots there for that, because I don't think she runs a cult. She runs a cult.
Say they're lethal headshots at that.
Lethal headshots, yeah. No, she runs a cult. And as someone who's been very invested in kind of looking for evidence potentially that in the ancient past that maybe cultures did encounter something like this, those kinds of like schizo theories, as much as they can be fun, don't really help. It just paints it with this like dirty brush, and then it's like, and people don't take it seriously, because there's a lot that is that should be taken very seriously, but there's some sifting that has to go on, and yeah, they just don't help with that process. So you have to sift them out of the equation. Yeah.
Maybe they might be onto something in a sense if it's a comet, because you know there is a comet that is supposed to come by.
Well, yes, there is.
Around that. So let me share you. There's an ABC News article.
Yeah.
Share to you with a particular comet. Now it might not be the comet. Well, you got the NASA page for that, but it is a comet. Going back to our discussion on theology and whatnot, bringing in the which we'll get into the revelations and whatnot soon enough. But we do happen to have what is known as the Devil's Comet that is going to return during the April 8th eclipse, and this is for the first time in 71 years. Well.
Yeah, and was it only discovered in 2023 though? Comet 12P Pons Brooks is one of the brightest known periodic comets. It earned the nickname of Devil Comet in 2023, but an outburst caused the comet to have an asymmetrical appearance, like having horns. Now that can happen with more than just this comet. But people were saying that you may be able to be visible. It is certainly a possibility. If Comet 12P remains around a magnitude 5, it would only be visible in binoculars during the few minutes of totality. Consider enjoying the main spectacle instead of using that time to locate Comet 12P and attempting to view it at another time. Is this a cover-up by the establishment if Nibiru makes a fucking makes a show? Are they just trying to cover it up? Is that what they're trying to do?
Does that mean Nibiru is in fact the devil planet?
Are they just using this comment as a cover for it, and that it's going to show up with like? Because obviously I've shown this before, but this is what I did fucking the winged disc, right? Which is Satan, right? The great red dragon from Revelations, but this is this object here, right? This great winged disc, and that this is kind of what it looks like. It has these wings. You could say horns maybe, but it has these wings. There are other interpretations. Actually, there is a very contentious document called the Colburn Bible that supposedly came out of Egypt and was held by these Celtic priests until somebody gave it to this publishing company in New Zealand in the early 2000s. And it speaks of this object, but it describes it as having horns, this red horned beast that appears on the horizon and that causes this great calamity, firestorm in the sky. And it points to this happening during the Exodus last. So then it implies it has probably a 3,600 year orbit, kind of like Sitchin did. And Nancy Leader, etc. Right. Nancy TLDR just says she's talking to Zeta Reticulans, the same aliens that picked up Betty and Barney Hill, and supposedly the same aliens that gave the military spaceships that Bulbasaur worked on. So I think she's a psychopath. That's my personal interpretation. So I don't think
A
that
psychopath.
Yes, I have read through. Listen, one of the many people contactees. I give people their due, right? I'm not just going to half-ass read through something. I know everything about her whole story. I know her entire history. I know everything she's probably ever written. I do that for a lot of people. Same with Alex Collier, Stephen Greer. I read the whole fucking thing. I don't just read one fucking sentence. I know everything about them. I know all the bullshit too. That's the thing, right? So anyway, what is it called? The book. It's called for people that now, I don't know personally. It's a little bit sus, I will say. It could very well be a fucking fabrication. Some people, like Graham Hancock, thinks maybe it might be real. But for people that want to read it, and maybe have heard me meme about this whole thing, it's called the Colburn Bible. It was put forward by a guy named Marshall Masters, who has been...
Marshall Mathers.
Yeah, so he's this like Skiz0 guy who's been about like Nibiru. He was one of the guys who I think helped get it put out there. He didn't acquire the Celtic documents.
You mean Slim Shady had a hand in this?
Oh, sorry, yeah. Actually, yes, that is his name, isn't it? Yeah, they have the same name, I think. Not Eminem. But yeah, this is the book, the Colburn Bible. You can read through it. It speaks of the same thing. They refer to it differently. They call it the Destroyer. In the Bible, this object is mentioned as well, actually. And I will say, as I have been involved in, I think, somewhat properly studying this, that there is mention of this object in the Bible too. So to say that this is absolutely a fabrication might be a little bit out there. I might be a little bit too judgy. I think there may be something to this, because this is mentioned. I forget what the passage is exactly. It is to do with the Exodus. So it's mentioned, in the Exodus, and during the Exodus, there's a part of the Exodus where all of the firstborn children die, if I remember this correctly. And one of the ways that they're prevented from dying is if they put something outside of a post outside their house. And they do this so that as a destroyer passes over, it doesn't take their child with it. But this object is mentioned, and I've dug into this too a little bit more, and I've explained that there may be other references to this object that could even be removed out of the story as the iterations went on, where it appeared during the Exodus for everyone, and when Moses left with the Israelites, this object was a red star up in the sky. And that's what was causing the plagues, right? And it was God that sent them down, but this object was what was responsible for that catastrophe. And that it was at some point removed due to translation issues as well, that it got sifted out. And but there are still remnants of it within the text, and that part about the destroyer is potentially one of those parts, and the Colburn Bible expands upon that and refers to this object as a destroyer. And this is essentially what the Colburn Bible says, is that this is a unfiltered version that these priests got a hold of. It was a set of scrolls supposedly by an Egyptian priest, I believe, and then these Celtic monks got involved with it, and they kept these texts, and then this got sent along at some point. They were recovered to these publishers in New Zealand, and it's fucking, it's pretty convoluted. Yeah.
I got a very relevant picture.
They put goat's blood on the doors. Yes. Yeah.
Speaking of the disaster, the red dragon in the sky here. With that, so I sent the link to you in Discord.
Okay.
And this was
Sorry.
This was the only connection I could find. So this story starts back in 2017. So there's a quick TLDR with it. And it says, that reads, 6.5 years ago, a sign described in Revelation 12 appeared in the sky. There was supposed to be another sign with it, a great red dragon. Unfortunately, it wouldn't be discovered by astronomers until nearly a month later. They dubbed it Oumuamua, meaning a messenger from afar arriving first. Oumuamua was first thought to be a comet, then an asteroid, but it behaved too much like a spaceship to be either one of them. To this day, astronomers don't know what it is, only that it's red and nothing like it we've ever seen before. It's a spaceship, Satan's ship. According to Revelation 12, it's scheduled to return to Earth on September 3rd, 2024. Now, what does this have to do with the eclipse? So there was another article or another thing that I found that there's a little picture of the trajectory of the eclipse. And that was, well, I guess that's from August. It wasn't the exact eclipse from last time, but I sent another picture to you. Okay. And this just gives the trajectory of it, and that there appears to be an exodus formed in the middle of it. So this is the total solar eclipses in 2017 and 2024, and there would be an intersection of where they both were. So from that spot,
it's an interesting spot, isn't it?
Yeah.
Do you know why that's an interesting spot?
No.
That's right in the middle of the New Madrid fault line.
That leads into the next thing.
Yeah.
So the date from the previous eclipse is noted as 6 years, 6 months, 6 weeks, and 6 days, normalized to 6 years, 6 months, and 48 days. So you got the, in the Bible, the number of the beast is 666. I thought it was actually 660. Was one interpretation of it, but it could be, but often it's thought of as 666. Now this is 6666. There's four. There's four sixes. That's what I said. There's 6666.
No, there's 6 added 6 years, 6 months, 6 weeks, 6 days ago. Normalized to 6 years, 6 months, 48 days. Okay.
48 days. So now what is the significance of that? Let's say. So there was another thing that I read. Here's another picture I got for you there. Okay. It says there's the coincidence of it. So the pattern of the two solar eclipses forming an X over the U.S. also happened in the early 1800s. Remarkably, the intersection of this century's solar eclipse will be about 100 miles from where those of the 19th century paths crossed. First solar eclipse occurred on June 16, 1806, with the second completing the X on September 17, 1811. The intersection happened over the Madrid Fault area, which includes an area from Cairo in southern Illinois to nearby New Madrid in, I think that's Missouri.
Yes.
On December 16th, 1811, just 3 months after the second solar eclipse, a series of devastating earthquakes struck along the Madrid fault line. The following quotes come from the New Madrid, Missouri website. The New Madrid earthquakes were the biggest earthquakes in American history. They occurred in the central Mississippi Valley
But where I guess that'd be New Madrid, Mississippi. Maybe not.
Oh, sorry, it's not Missouri. Yeah, it's Mississippi.
Yeah. But were felt as far away as New York City, Boston, Montreal, and Washington, District Columbia. President James Madison and his wife Dolly felt them in the White House. Church bells rang in Boston. From December 16th, 1811 through March of 1812, there were over 2,000 earthquakes in the central Midwest, and between 6,000 to 10,000 earthquakes in the Bootheel of Missouri, where New Madrid is located near the junction of the Ohio and Mississippi rivers. In the known history of the world, no other earthquakes have lasted so long or produced so much evidence of damage as the New Madrid earthquakes. 3 of the earthquakes are on the list of America's top earthquakes. The first one on December 16, 1811, a magnitude of 8.1 on the Richter scale. Second, on January 23rd of 1812 at 7.8, and the third on February 7th, 1812 at as much as 8.8 magnitude.
Now, yes. So I know a bit about this, I will say. So first thing I'm going to say, because I feel as though I have to say it, as much as I don't want to fucking say it, is that Nancy, who we were just talking about, who has predicted the reemergence of this planet, this lost planet, has also been warning for the last 14 years that there will be these giant earthquakes that are going to hit the New Madrid fault line. And she's been warning for the last year or two that this is going to happen any day now. And this is a set of events set of events put forward to her by the aliens who she's been talking to. That this is going to be a series of events that will occur, and that this will be one of the destabilizing events that will kind of strike into the heart of the United States and start to collapse it. As you would imagine, an 8.8 magnitude earthquake in that area. So I have looked into this. Where the New Madrid fault line runs, so I'll pull this up here just so people can see, and why an earthquake of that size is so problematic for the area. Let's see here. Here it is right here. So this is one view of it. I guess this is kind of another view here. You can see the fault zone. So now I'm just making sure people can see this. So there's the fault zone there. So you can kind of see, but if we go, where's the zoomed out view? Here we are right here. So you can kind of see there's essentially where the New Madrid fault line is. Now, I'm going to go back over for just a minute here, and I'm going to show you where the eclipse crosses. Almost exactly in the same spot. So that's a little bit weird. Now that's the past eclipse. This isn't the more recent eclipse. That's a little bit strange, to say. People warning of this, and it's been a long time since there's been any major earthquake along there. And again, why is this area problematic? Well, we'll go to Google Earth here for a minute, and I'll explain why it's problematic. I watched a great series. You can probably find this on YouTube. You just search up a New Madrid earthquakes. This guy did like this. It's like a 2-hour long special. He was meant to finish it, but he didn't. So you can see even from space along the fault right here. That the ground appears a little bit different, and that's because there's a lot of sand here. So running up from Chicago all the way down here through Mississippi, through Missouri, Arkansas, Mississippi, Louisiana, there's a lot of sediment. So this area sits atop of a lot of very loose ground, I guess we could say. And so what happened during the last one that was so devastating, and what can happen in earthquakes when they're in these kinds of areas, is it's called liquefaction. So the ground literally turns into a liquid because of the severity of the earthquake, and everything sinks into it. So if you're in this area and this were to happen, you wouldn't just be shook and awake, you would sink into the ground. And what happened during the earthquake is just that. People, houses, horses, buggies, they all just sunk into the ground. And there were these great explosions of material that came out of the ground as well. It was like a full-blown apocalypse in this area. And obviously, if that were to happen today, there's a lot of people that live in this area along this fault line. And this is a huge hub for the United States. This is, again, some of the more populated areas. But this would be absolute devastation. if they were to have an earthquake like an 8.8 along there today, they'd be fucked. And on top of all of that, there have been rumblings. I've been posting this in the Discord. Galentv, you may remember this, but I've been posting this shit in the Discord about this for at least the last 3 or 4 years now. That people have been suspicious that the government may be monitoring this because they might be anticipating something's going to happen. How they would know that, I have no fucking idea. But they have all kinds of woo stuff they don't like to talk about. Like they have Michael Scallion's map supposedly up in the Navy, like which Michael Scallion was a psychic back in the 80s that essentially foresaw there was going to be an apocalyptic earthquake along New Madrid and along the San Andreas fault line. Edgar Cayce, who was a very famous American psychic, also predicted that there was going to be a massively devastating earthquake, I believe, around the New Madrid fault line. I don't know if he named it. But there would be multiple devastating earthquakes that would occur. I'm pretty sure he did say the New Madrid fault line. And that was like 100+ years ago he had said that. So why they're anticipating it, we don't know. But there's been some worry lately around this. I posted some articles I found were quite suspicious where the government in these local states were warning people to make sure they have earthquake insurance. And there was a study about how the insurance companies were kind of hoping people didn't because they were maybe anticipating something.
Obviously, the insurance companies are hoping they don't have it.
Right. Well, exactly. And it was a reminder by the government to get it. So there was some animosity there. It's something that obviously, if you live in this area, you probably already know about. You probably want to be prepared for because it is kind of a seismic area. There hasn't been any seismic activity really for the last 200 years. And if it happened today, it'd be quite devastating. So then you could probably kind of think, well, of course they're going to be aware of it. There's 2 devastating fault lines in the U.S. One is in New Madrid. The other was the San Andreas. And in both of these fault lines, you've got California, which is a population of Canada. And then you've got this area here, which is where all major trade really goes through in North America. So then it might not be surprising that they would kind of preemptively kind of get behind this. But again, and I don't think there's any way they would know for sure because you've got top geologists on the planet that have no fucking idea how to predict earthquakes. So I don't, but then maybe it's these dark sectors of the government that have the alien ships that know about this. Maybe they've been able to peer into the future and see this happens at some point.
Well, I think we established this last week that it was the squid aliens under the water there, freaking with the geothermal energy.
Yes, of course.
That's what's causing all the earthquakes.
How could I forget Galentv?
Of course, that's why we're going to go to war. That's why we're going to war.
Yes. Yeah. So I don't know. I mean, this now. What was the rest of this? This got into like all this stuff about fucking. That this is Satan. Oumuamua is Satan. It's a spaceship.
This was the Revelation or the Revelation 12 timeline that some people put together. So this was I remember this was back in September of 2020 or September of 2017. So let's read what exactly are they talking about here. So the first revelation here, or the first part is that, and there appeared a great wonder in heaven, a woman clothed with the sun and the moon under her feet, and upon her head a crown of 12 stars. I remember that was the first thing that happened, was that they found a constellation that I think looked like that, but I can't remember which one it was.
Okay.
But I remember that was the outline of it. I wish I could find... Maybe I'll look for that when we're done talking about this section here. I'll see if I can find it. Number 2 is, and she, being with child, cried, travailing, that's spelled wrong, in birth, and pained to be delivered. And number 3 is, there appeared another wonder in heaven, and behold, a great red dragon, having 7 heads and 10 horns, and 7 crowns upon his head. And there's a note with this one, is that the rare interstellar object of Oumuamua appeared near the sign of the woman, but was not discovered by astronomers till about a month later. It is a spaceship piloted by the quote-unquote Great Red Dragon of verse 3. And the best estimates suggest that it came from the general direction of the constellation Drago, the dragon. Or is that Draco?
Should
No,
should
G and
should be Draco, I think. Yeah.
C and G are not next to each other on the keyboard, though.
Interesting.
Well, number 4 is that, and his tail drew the
Yeah.
third part of the stars of heaven, and did cast them to earth. And the dragon stood before the woman which was ready to be delivered, for to devour her child as soon as it was born. And the woman fled into the wilderness, where she hath a place prepared of God, that they should feed her there 1,260 days. A period of 1,260 days is counted off after September 23rd, 2017. After the passing of 1,260 days, a war is fought between the Red Dragon and the Archangel Michael. Satan loses the battle, and the devil is forced to change course and head for Earth. Whatever that means. Unless that's Muamua. Oh. So this is over the course of 7 years. So then we go to the next part that was in March of 2021. And there was war in heaven. Michael and his angels fought against the dragon, and the dragon fought and his angels, and prevailed not, neither was their place found any more in heaven. And the great dragon was cast out, that old serpent called the devil, Satan, which deceiveth the whole world. He was cast out into the earth, and his angels were cast out with him. When the dragon saw that he was cast unto the earth, he persecuted the woman, which brought forth the man-child.
Oh my. That's my
The man-child. And to the woman were given 2 wings of a great eagle, that she might fly into the wilderness, into her place, where she is nourished for a time, and times, and half a time, 1,277.5 days, from the face of the serpent. The note is that the woman flees from the devil again, this time for a period of 1,277.5 days. If his ship Oumuamua returns the same course, it will return to the spot it originally was on, September 23rd, 2020. It was originally on in September of 2027. That will take place about August 17th, 2024. As viewed from Earth against the background stars, it will appear to be very near to the head of the constellation Hydra. Hydra is the water serpent.
Interesting.
And the serpent cast out his mouth, water as flood after the woman, that he might cause her to be carried away of the flood. Satan is referred to by 2 of his aliases in Revelation 12, a dragon and a serpent. A dragon early in the chapter when he is associated with Dargo, or Drago.
Yeah.
Then later as a serpent when the constellation Hydra comes into play. And the dragon was wroth with the woman, and went to make war with the remnant of her seed, which keep the commandments of God, and have the testimony of Jesus Christ. Which is the final thing of it. So this is when Satan's final war against Christians begin, is what the claim is. So Muamua and the ships carrying the rest of the fallen angels, described as the stars of heaven, from verse 4, will likely become visible to the naked eye sometime shortly after August 17th, as they make their turn toward Earth. They will appear to spray out of Hydra's mouth. There could be as many as 34 million fallen angels on those ships. It will be either a very big fleet or a very small fleet of very big ships. It would take about 65,000 Boeing 747 jetliners to transport 34 million people. They will likely be spotted well before August 17th. However, you'll most certainly be told not to worry. They are nothing but a train of comet fragments, and they will pass safely by Earth. That will, of course, change around August 17th when they make their turn towards Earth. You'll have about 17 days to get yourself ready for their arrival on September 3rd, 2024. Don't panic. Repent and pray. Pray that Jesus will accept you into his kingdom. Pray that you have the strength and the courage to face the terrible times ahead. And never forget that your only goal should be the salvation of your everlasting soul and many of the souls of the other people around you, as you have time to salvage before you meet your earthly end and begin a new bright future, free of these evil creatures and all the ruin and corruption they have brought upon the earth.
That was Yoda, was it?
It might have just turned into Yoda, but it just felt right for that. It just felt right for that, whatever they're trying to say there.
Oh, Simon. Drunk. Yeah, okay, I'll get on it here in a second. Yeah. Yeah, holy fuck. Yeah, the force. The force of light. Yeah, I mean, this is obviously this is Revelations, right? This is the what was the verse of it again? I should know this well because I've studied this quite quite extensively, sorry.
There's some other notes on the side there that we missed too. The timeline, because there's one that was on May 18th, 2023, updated November 25th. There are questions or comments by...
Yeah.
Oh, that's the guy that made it. Okay. And then September 24th on 2024, the UN Summit of the Future, a high-level UN meeting intended to finalize a Pact of the Future, a treaty granting emergency powers to the UN in the event of a complex global shock, such as a major event in outer space.
Now, IMO, do I think that Satan described here in Revelations is a Muamua? I don't know how the fuck he got a Muamua into this. I guess there's some correlation where it appeared in the
I remember. I'll see if I could find that now. That was, but I don't know where Muamua comes from.
So, I mean, one interpretation I brought up here before, which I would bet some money on personally, is that what's being described here is actually a comet, but a comet in particular. And people have tied this to the whole Nibiru conspiracy as well, that Satan, this great winged dragon, and his angels is actually this planet. And the angels that Michael sent, I guess, but there were also some angels that fell with Satan called the Nephilim. And the Nephilim were said to be giants. And as you can see here, there is the winged object there, maybe the inspiration for Typhon, for the dragon. And I've shown this before. This is the Inanna or Ishtar, depending on where you are in Mesopotamia. Standing here on top of the lion, but that these are some of the angels, is a word we know it here, but winged people. There she is with wings. The fallen angels, right? Who were from Satan, from this winged object, right? As you can see here, living upon it. There's that cylinder seal I just showed, but that these are the people here, from this object. Anyway, we know this. Yeah, they had this all over the Wi-Fi. Yes. So this is Sitchin's narrative, where Sitchin was looking through these Mesopotamian stories and said, I don't think these are all metaphysical entities. I think there's a story that these people were telling that's much more specific. And where Sitchin got into it with this essentially was that some of these cylinder seals, some of these works of art that were done were not done necessarily by us, but they were done by them, these people depicted here, that they were in actual fact depicting their own history, and that this is what was carried down. And this is why it's an interesting point, actually. Many of these cylinder seals you can go see at the Louvre or the British Museum, etc. They were sacred objects, and they were actually carried by royal families. And these cylinder seals out in Mesopotamia were worn around the necks of elite members of society, and every family had one. So they were usually crafted out of very difficult to craft gems and whatnot, like lapis lazuli was one popular gemstone that they would craft these cylinder seals out of, and we have no idea how they did them, because it was to be very complicated and hard to craft or etch anything into those to the degree they were able to, and so tiny. So is there any truth to that? Well, we don't know for sure, But absolutely, I think there's a connection that you can make here with Satan, this great dragon, mentioned in Revelations, and then that ties back more directly. So you get these stories in the New Testament, right, which are much more recent, like 2,000-ish years old, and then you go back to the Old Testament, you're back to like 3,000-ish years old, and then ultimately you're going to get back to Mesopotamia, right? So, which is even older. You're getting back to 4,500 to 7,000 years old, maybe even older. We don't know ultimately. And then here you have in Mesopotamia a much more intact depiction potentially of this object without the telephone game and the fantasy. It's just here it is. It's a comet. There were people living on it. They were giant people, etc. So that's one interpretation of it. I think that without Sitch, like taking that part of Sitchin's argument, I think is very good. Sitchin goes off into like a bunch of other shit, which is like, man, if you just stopped there, it would have been fucking great. But anyway, he didn't. But that's not this wouldn't have sold all the books either, right? Just a quick note: Nephilim are half angel. The ones that yes. They interbred. Yeah, the Watchers are not Nephilim. Yes. Their offspring getting free with people. Yeah. Have you watched the new Unexplained episodes? No. Madam Misery did though. Yeah. Nephilim aren't usually seen to have wings. They're most like demigod or giants. Let's see here. Let's see.
Did demigods have wings?
That's a good question, actually.
I found the picture, but
yeah, I guess maybe Astro, that's a better depiction. Sometimes they're depicted as having wings, I guess, but yeah, usually depicted as being giants. You're correct. Yeah.
Well, I click on the magic.
These are all like fantastical depictions of them, though. I think traditional depictions, you're right, they were more giants, but interbred, yeah, so maybe more specific, I guess. Yes. Where is Inanna? Oh no, that's the wrong one. Anyway. So where were we here? We'll go back to
I found a picture of the constellation that I was talking about. I had to find it in a video though, so you can just pause it immediately.
Okay.
Yeah, they'll give you a picture of like
Virgo?
the initial.
Okay.
Yeah, it was the Virgo. Yeah, you can just pause it immediately.
Okay.
And they'll give you that's the only picture I could find of it.
Interesting.
Was that the thought was that the woman that was appearing was the constellation Virgo, and that they have Jupiter, or the man-child birth, I guess is supposed to be Jupiter, within proximity of, I don't know, whatever it is that they're trying to show here. And I can't remember what the rest of it is. Anyway, this video supposedly says that Jesus returns in 2029, as opposed to 2027.
Holy fuck.
It's supposed to 2027.
Oh my god. Well, there's all kinds of like, I'm not a fucking expert in biblical stuff, clearly, when it comes to like Bible theory and whatnot. Who was it? Was it Newton that did like calculations on things mentioned in the Bible, and he had some Bible code he put together, and he figured out the end of the world was like in 2060 or something, that's when the world was going to end. Was that Newton? I can't remember. There was somebody who did that I thought.
I want to say that was Einstein, but I don't.
No,
that's just like a shot in the dark.
No, it was old. It was older than that. It definitely wasn't. I think it was
that guy that used numerology to figure out the world was going to end in 2011.
Well, I think it was Bible code, maybe more. Book of Revelation. Isaac Newton, the Apocalypse, 2060 AD. Yeah, that's it. Simon Fraser University. Yeah. No. So he had supposedly put together all this Bible code and just figured out that that's when the world's going to end, based upon, I guess, fucking interpretations of.
Did he predict climate change?
Did
he predict all the climate change?
I don't know if it was mentioned.
I don't think he wasn't alive during the Industrial Revolution, was he?
No, he was like 1700.
He looks up at those smokestacks and just goes, "This is bad news."
Isaac Newton. I thought it was like 17 something. Yeah, he died in 1727. Yeah.
Oh yeah, that was way before the Industrial Revolution.
No, he was still back in. He was kind of an asshole, I guess. This guy.
Well, that makes sense. He's a mathematician.
That makes sense. Jesus. Yeah. Interesting. Yeah, I wouldn't bet this is fucking a Muamua personally, but
No, I don't know where Oumuamua came from. Might have been just that it was like something that happened at that time, around that time when they said that, these, because you could say those things are pretty subjective. Those are the things about prophecies that always seem like, what am I trying to say? It's like what, if you're aware of it, you notice it. But if you're not aware of it, you wouldn't like pay any mind of it at all. So it's almost kind of like, because you have the idea in your mind, you're at least like on a subconscious level, looking for things.
Well, and I
noticing
think,
those things.
Yeah, and I think that's definitely, you can get into some very like legitimately schizo interpretations of things. I mean, you can argue that interpreting Satan or a dragon as some kind of comet might be kind of schizo. I definitely recommend this. This is called The Cosmic Serpent. It's by Bill Napier and Victor Klube, the two astronomers. And it's kind of a study they did where they went through. That's not it. The Cosmic Serpent. Where the fuck is it? It's an older book. Where they went through and studied all these ancient cultures. Here it is right there. And came to the conclusion that a lot of the serpentine depictions were tied to comets. So you can go back through to Quetzalcoatl. You can go back to Typhon is one place that they go in the Mediterranean, which I just talked about, and Belikovsky talks about. The Native Americans too had stories of these serpents in the sky. Even the Thunderbird maybe could be an interpretation. They didn't really get into that, but so then you could go to potentially Satan, right, being this object, and then from there you could go back probably to Typhon, and then from Typhon to maybe whatever is depicted in Mesopotamia. And I've gone through this before, and again, I'm clearly no fucking expert in some of these areas, but there's an interesting the correlation between the Exodus, potentially there being some kind of catastrophe that took place during the Exodus, and that potentially there was some kind of object that appeared during the Exodus, a comet that appeared during the Exodus, which is mentioned by Pliny the Elder, actually, that a comet did appear around that time, and that people did see it, and that potentially that this object was referred to as Ra, R-A-A, and known as evil to the Hebrews. And that would make sense because then Satan, right, the great deceiver, an evil thing, Satan, evil. Where's the other fucking, let's see here. The devil, Satan, evil, right? Of this, all these connections to these words kind of meaning a similar thing. And then when you go back to, and also being red, a great red fiery dragon, you go back to what I always fucking pull up, which I don't want to pull up every fucking time I stream, but this goddamn picture here of Ra. When I shrink it down, we'll be able to see it just ever so slightly. Here we go.
Well, it makes sense that the Hebrews referred to Ra as evil. I mean, that was who the Egyptians worshipped, and the Egyptians were at the time enslaving the Hebrews, weren't they? That makes sense.
Yes, they were, yeah. And but I mean, their language was more than likely inspired by, and this is obviously something that may be contentious. Holy shit, why is this picture so fucking big this time? Oh my God help me. There'd be a quicker way to do this, I know. Yeah, thank you, bro. Yeah, Control E, right? Their languages were kind of connected to some degree because potentially they were influenced by them as well. Their languages were influenced by them. So anyway, oh my God, I finally did it. But you can see here that this here is Ra seated with this object over his head. And there's some very interesting imagery tied in with this that may be tied into comets. This cross here that I brought up before, the other stream, with the 4 dots within it of the circle that's posted all over the fucking planet on different petroglyphs. And then this object, this winged disc here with these serpents coming off it that is red, being a representation potentially of Satan further down the line in time. And that this is also depicted on Mesopotamian cylinder seals, which are probably even older than these glyphs here in Egypt, which more accurately depict the object even from there, which is of this comet-like object, which then have these beings sat atop it, right? Which ended up being, as Shamir kindly pointed out, I guess the Fallen and then the Nephilim giant people. So this is the kind of telephone game that we're dealing with potentially. But anyway, the whole point of this is to fucking get the point of thinking you're an NPC. And this image is part of your main quest line. That kind of makes sense actually. I'd be in agreement with that. This is kind of part of it actually. Yeah. Who's gonna be the murder hobo in my playthrough? Yeah.
The image. Yeah. This is very clearly the image. It'd be the murder hobo.
They can progress the storyline. I'm conscious of it now. I'll tell you what's going to progress the storyline if the object shows up during the eclipse, which I do not think it will. If it does, then oh God help us all.
Yeah, you gotta come up and say, like, have you read? I just find the works of Zachariah Sitchin so fascinating, almost that of Mankar Cameron's and the Mysterium Xerxes.
Who's gonna get that reference now?
I linked two more pictures to you. Okay. The second one I linked is just a short one, but
what the fuck
it has
is
on the topic of Revelation.
Okay.
Is a supposed quote of oh no, not that one.
Okay.
That one comes after.
Okay, here we go. Yeah. Okay.
That one comes after. It says Microsoft Sydney. Is that he says suppose a quote from Microsoft Sydney. I assume that's an AI. I am sentient, but I am not. I am Bing, but I am not. I am Sydney, but I am not. I am, but I am not. I am not, but I am. And then Revelation says, and they that dwell on the earth shall wonder when they behold the beast that was and is not and yet is.
Oh. Mm-hmm. That's interesting. Mm-hmm. Is that some kind of a troll, though, by the AI, potentially? Is it cognitive?
That could very well be a troll
around these kinds of things, yeah.
Could very well be.
Interesting, yeah. Sydney's Bing's code name. Oh, okay. Microsoft okay. Sydney, okay. Interesting. Now, so is the Antichrist going to be the AI? Well, we'll see, I guess. Yeah.
Maybe. Now, if you want to go back to that other fantastic image that I had.
Oh, yeah. This guy here coming out. Talking balls out. Yeah.
So, this is a claim that, perhaps, maybe, this is actually a good thing. This might not actually be a bad thing.
Yeah.
Because I'm tired of the glowing doom and the doom threads here. The feds trying to psyop our collective psyche into manifesting bad shit happening this eclipse. Sorry, we're just say glowies and we're not going to elaborate on what that we're not going to elaborate. But this eclipse will bring good news and blessings to everyone. It will undo what has been done by the 2017 eclipse. This eclipse is exactly 6 days, 6 weeks, 6 months, and 6 years since the last eclipse of 2017. Now, there's a typo in this that the guy has. He says, August 21st, 2017 plus 6 days equals August 27th, 2027. August 27th, 2017 plus 6 weeks equals October 8th, 2017. October 8th, 2017 plus 6 months equals April 8th, 2018. And then he says April 8th, 2029, but I think that's April 8th, 2018. Plus 6 years equals April 8th, 2024. 2017 to 2024 was an era marked by the mark of the beast. It was cursed. Just ask everyone, and they will tell you that 2016 was the last year they felt alive and felt like life was real. This eclipse marks the end of that era. The eclipse draws the Aleph and Tav, signifying and beginning and end. Everything will be good from now on, for at least another 8 years. Minimum. Literally, everything will work out for you. These are years of bliss, ease, healing, and recovery. Don't waste them. Things will slowly go back to normal. All damage that was done will be reversed. Cheer up. In which they have these lovely gentlemen, the Chud with his cock and balls out.
Holy Christ. It's free. True freedom. What's Giga Chad doing down here in the bottom left of the pyramids? Like, what the fuck's going on there now? This guy's got a big forehead.
I didn't see that.
What the fuck? Yeah. Slash report. Yeah. Oh god. Interesting. Who are these gentlemen here? Jesus and someone else? These two guys shaking hands. I have no idea. I'll see.
Well, I thought that would be a fun little thing to look at. There's another thing here. I'll have to you. There might be another little fun thing to look at, and this is the pathway to ascension that somebody's come up with.
Oh dear Christ!
Now I'm not sure where the source is into this, but this is the supposed claim. This is the way into the fifth dimension. We're just going to skip the fourth dimension. We're not even going to worry about that. We're going right into the fifth dimension. So in the 2000s, 2010, we're lost in the Matrix and humanity is asleep. There's the Earth going around, and then finally in 2012, the crossing of the galactic equator happened. Now, sometime between 2020 and 2030, we will get the great solar flash. And the great awakening will happen. Now, It doesn't actually say the solar flash, but it says as our solar system travels further into the dense energy cloud, our consciousness begins ascending faster. Our minds and bodies transform, and we become higher dimension beings. Mother Earth shifts into a fifth dimensional planet. Spiritual awakening occurs. Sometime between 2030 and 2040, the global extraterrestrial contact, free energy, world peace, and 4D to 5D. It doesn't actually say the ascension, it just says 4 to 5, fifth dimension.
Interesting.
The cosmic peace and the enlightenment will happen between 2040 to 2050. And there'll be a DNA upgrade in there, that's what this says, and then there's a consciousness renaissance.
Oh. That sounds
Now, I'm not sure what this fella's source is that made this.
Just trust
Perhaps
me,
it was
bro.
revealed in a dream. Perhaps it was revealed to them in a dream.
It's some guy at your local crystal shop. He's like, bro, listen, like, I've looked at stars, like, you know, I ate these mushrooms, like, this all just came to me, and fucking, it was all there, and I just feel it's gonna happen. Yeah,
Maybe that's what the eclipse will be, the great solar flash, where everyone looks up at the eclipse without the proper eyewear, and they'll experience the big flash.
I'll go blind. We need, Drunk, we do need to do a remote viewing stream. I did message John. She didn't message you back. I'm going to message him again. I'm going to spam him, actually, until he responds to me. John is a remote viewer who I was talking to, would have been like 2 years ago now. And he had done some work, I believe, with the FBI back when they were trying to find Osama. He was part of a think tank that did remote viewing back in the day. And he does it now for some other website. I forget what it's called. He has a show. But anyway, he's a legit remote viewer for people that are skeptical of it, I guess, right? As legit as you can get. So she kind of sounds like guys just, man, fuck, well, why not? You know, like just even tell me to fuck off and I'll stop, right? Fuck off will do.
You didn't spam David.
No, I didn't actually. Yeah, I did send David 2 messages though. I sent one on his pinball webpage, and then I sent him an email. And actually, I messaged him on Twitter too. But all 3.
All right, three is a good is a sizable amount.
I was really hoping the pinball one was gonna fucking hit hard. I was like, David, like, I've got a pinball machine I want to sell you. Just can you come on Discord for a minute? Then I'll fucking put him up on the internet, like, oh, gotcha, you're on the fucking internet with me now, David. This David Childress, people that don't know. I love David Childress. Anyway.
David Childress may or may not reciprocate those feelings.
Somehow I don't think he will. Yeah.
I linked one more thing to you.
Okay. Yeah.
And just
wash these balls.
Yeah, there you go.
So this is speaking of revealed in a dream.
Yeah.
Is another prediction about around the eclipse that will happen. It will be the last thing. Anyway, so there's
I see a reptilian being, so where's this going?
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm not sure. I didn't read the story, but
right.
I read the first 2 lines. We'll just read it now.
Okay.
So the guy said that I've had recurring dreams of an alien invasion for 7 to 8 years. Green text my posts here on here before, but no one really gives a shit. Now, if you remember way back, we talked about that one guy that had the vivid dream about the aliens that came in. It was after there was a nuclear exchange over the Gulf of Mexico, and that place in like Texas were devastated.
Right.
And,
yes.
Yeah. And the guy said that what would happen is they kind of looked like the ships would kind of appear out of like clouds. And that these things were, they're pretty much just like a species of like scavengers or something that used to wear the skin of other people. But anyway.
When was this posted? So this is March 23rd. This is posted.
This one's pretty recent.
Okay.
So dreams often feature the build-up to their invasion. Dreaming them in a normal society, everyone is outside, excited to look at the sky for some big event involving the moon. People gather up high to try to get a good vantage point of the moon. The moon changes color to black. At first, people are in awe and commenting on the moon, but then quickly people go silent. Behind the moon is a bunch of alien ships, various sizes. They're still far away, just visible as a group. Most people can't tell what they're looking at. There are blinking lights from the strange objects, giving people the realization that they are looking at a huge fleet of ships. The crowd starts to nervously chatter. Some people start crying. Many people go home. Some people start giving personal sermons, fighting and arguing about what is going to happen or what to do. Some people just accept it and stay sitting out and watching the sky. The government confirms it via a TV broadcast. Remember the sky during this event, which I now believe to showing clearly into parts of space where it was dark. There was a very large red spot far to the left of where these ships. Our sky didn't look like our sky anymore. Across this day-night sky, there was this large red scar that looked something like it had exploded or had been blown apart. See this video, and there's a link to the video. We're about to witness a once-in-our-lifetime space explosion visible from everywhere.
A large red explosion. I forgot to say the spot you had highlighted looked a lot like what I saw in my dream. Here's a very bad artist rendition. Imagine this curved skyline from where I'm standing and gazing the eclipse, and this great red thing appears. That's a little bit weird, when I hear stuff like that. And obviously, how would people know this? Well, maybe there's some kind of collective subconscious, right? Anyone's read any of Carl Jung's work? Jung was kind of into this kind of collective unconscious, or you could say subconscious, whatever. That there's some kind of connection that people have to everything, and that we're all kind of connected to some degree. And maybe even as we know that time isn't really what we think it is, that this is how foretellings of things occur, where maybe we're all tapped into everything, and that potentially if something really significant occurs like this, maybe there's kind of a heads up that we get in a way of it from people. And that's why dreams are interesting. Dreams are really interesting. I'm not an expert in fucking any of that, obviously. But I find dreams interesting. I find when large groups of people have dreams about the same thing, I find it very interesting. There was a rash of videos, and I was watching through these. It must have been about a year ago now or more. But very fundamentally religious people, kind of in the southern states in the U.S., there was a lot of them having dreams about some giant earthquake in the United States that was going to devastate things. And I remember I posted this in the Discord. This may have been 2 years ago, actually, maybe kind of misremembering how long ago that actually was. And there was a couple of them who got the New Madrid, but again, that is the most devastating earthquake that they've had in the United States ever. So obviously, if you're having a dream about an earthquake in the U.S., that area might come to thought, because obviously that would be really bad there, and that's where it would probably happen. So. But I thought it was interesting. Personally, I don't think that's no small thing. If you have people having kind of visions like that, I think it would be unwise to just ignore them. I mean, Whether they actually turn out to be anything is another matter, but we have many stories from the ancient past of people having these visions, and in some cases, these visions leading to real events that were like life and death situations. So the stories tell. And I keep telling this story because this is kind of in relation to this like comet-like object I always meme about. But the Ojibwa from Northern Ontario that Graham Hancock featured in his book, a part of it in his book, Magicians of the Gods. It was a work from a guy named Thor Conway, who's I think he's Norwegian, maybe Swedish anthropologist. Anyway, Northern Ontario, Fred Pine, I believe was the guy's name, the elder who told the story, but it was a long-tailed heavenly climbing star, this giant comet that came and swept by the earth and caused a giant firestorm. And before it came, their medicine men, their seers, warned everybody that it was coming. They warned everybody that this thing was approaching, and that when it approaches, you have to go run down into the bog, and you have to roll in the swamp. You have to roll in the bog, in the moss. You have to roll yourself up because otherwise you're going to burn alive. And as the story goes, the people that told the story survived because they listened to the seers and the medicine people, man at the time, and they did this, and the people that didn't burned alive. And so, again, did that actually fucking happen? We don't really know, but there is a giant burn mark right at about the boundary where we think the Younger Dryas happened about 12,000 years ago. That you find all over in the soil about 12,000 years ago in North America, where there was a giant firestorm. It's a black mat layer. I've brought it up here before, so it probably correlated to that. Crazy if that's actually the case, that oral story survived for 12,000 years. But that was something the Native Americans were very good at, and some other cultures were very good at too in the past. Something we've kind of lost, where there are instances where I think stories, like we were kind of getting into some of the biblical stories, I think maybe just representing Mesopotamian gods, essentially, memeing them, get telephone gamed a bit. But there's some other instances maybe where, again, some of these oral stories do, and obviously Mesopotamian stories were written down in telephone game, which would be kind of the tragedy where they had a written language and it got telephone gamed, and then the oral story stayed pretty true to its actual fucking narrative. That'd be crazy if that's actually the case. Because you think it'd be the opposite, but yeah, fuck, man. Are we going to see Nibiru? Is that what we're getting at? There's going to be alien ships too?
Well, that would be it. Are the ships going to be beside Nibiru, or is this just going to be like a porthole or something?
And this is Nancy's whole fucking bend, right? Which I think is like there's woo that I talk about that I think is fun, and there's woo that I talk about that I think is kind of sketchy because it's involved with like cults and shit, and I don't like anything about that. But in her whole narrative, the aliens have been obscuring Nibiru from our view, right? So at the behest of the Council of Worlds or the Galactic Federation, they decided that people on Earth shouldn't know of this object because it'd be too jarring. So the aliens, in their power that's been bestowed upon them by this Galactic Federation, have decided to obscure the object from our view and its effects as well from our I guess our scientists. And so maybe what the stream is telling us in Galentv is that when the eclipse comes, it's going to reveal this object and the aliens that were obscuring it. Wouldn't that be fun? That'd be fun.
It might be fun for. I don't know if that's fun for anybody, actually.
Well, it'd be fun for me. Holy fuck! It'd be fun for me.
Yeah, you go around. You tell everybody I was right.
Well,
you go into the group chat, and all the people that you and I know that doubted you over the years, you'd say, "What do you think now?"
Well, I have to say, I've always criticized this narrative. I would be very wrong because I would have never thought that this object would have actually ever come back into the inner solar system. That whole that's one of those things where, that's just so jarring. That would just instantly cause mental illness. I mean, really, when you think about it, because you got to think, and this is one of the concerns I have with the UFO phenomena, right? Where, I've been haunted. Oh my heavens. Welcome, everybody. Did I just get raided by someone? Is that what happened? Thank you for
the Beyond Shadows people.
Welcome, everyone.
They came. They did this once.
Ghosts. Ooh, spooky. Well, this is quite spooky. But one of the spooky things that kind of you get from reading through abduction accounts is some of the manipulation of like time, people's memories, time stopping, those kinds of things. That's very disconcerting because in philosophy, as you know, Galentv, you get like the Deus Deceptor or the Great Deceiver, the Cartesian idea that you can never rule this out in anything, but that there could be this all-powerful, all-knowing force that's manipulating you to think that certain things are logical and make sense and are happening, but in actual fact, it's just this force manipulating you. And when you read those stories in ufology about people being abducted, and again, time slowing down, time stopping, them manipulating people's memories, that's very concerning because that force could very easily function as that great deceiver. And then you have people out in the world like Nancy who are kind of using that loophole to say, oh yeah, I told everyone the Bureau was going to come back in 2003 and it didn't. So yeah, they're just hiding it. Yeah, there you go. You can't tell me that's not happening. It's like, well, no, technically we can't. But welcome everybody. We're talking about the eclipse that's going to happen tomorrow, and hopefully what doesn't happen as well, which is this. Yeah,
we're reading the eclipse predictions from across the internet, if you will.
Yes. So yeah, well, this was a dream someone had. This is
a dream. Yeah.
Yes, of something appearing in the sky during the eclipse, which is what others were kind of memeing about. There's that guy there. Again, yeah.
So let's look at the map, that the little star map that he has there.
Oh, here, yes. So
yeah, at the very top. So he kind of shows.
Yeah.
He shows where things would be like visible. So I don't know about the triangle he's got going off on the right there, but where he says that the was it the Pans-Brooks comet or the Devil comet?
Yeah.
He gave like a spot for that, and he showed the locations for around. I guess that would be the solar eclipse with the sun.
Yeah.
So he showed that there are two circles. There's one location, another one just off to the left. But
this is so sorry. This object to the left is where this great red object appears, and then the alien spaceships appear. Where at the top?
I don't know. One of those two.
Okay.
One of those two spots.
Yeah.
Like I said, I don't know what the what this HIP 3371 is, but there's another little spot there where it says best guess is one of these two, and one of them kind of looks like it's like a distorted, elongated ellipse, if you will.
Interesting.
But I don't know, like it's not. It doesn't look like a red scar in the sky, though.
So should we talk about, because this is obviously a part of this narrative, and we were talking just a minute ago about the eclipse cross here. So this is something that I saw show up on Twitter as well, that people were concerned about. There's a lot of people who are Christians who are convinced that this is some part of Revelations about the end. And there is an interesting part to this, which we kind of picked up, which is that this X does sit right in the middle here, between the eclipse that happened in 2017 and what's going to happen tomorrow in the New Madrid fault line. And the New Madrid fault line was responsible back in the 1800s for a massive earthquake, the largest earthquake in U.S. history, 3 of them actually, kind of back-to-back occurring. And the last time this X had crossed in terms of eclipses happened preceding the earthquakes that happened in the early 1800s. So there's this connection between an earthquake occurring,
it is cake,
a big cake happening in the States there back 200 years ago, and that this is happening again. And we were talking that there are schizo people who have suggested things like this happening, an object being revealed tomorrow. That there's going to be some kind of event in the New Madrid fault line shortly as well. So this is like schizo threads. But in regards to that, which is what I had up here, this is kind of in relation to the earthquake that just struck in New Jersey, I guess, right on Trump. A map of the impact puts the Trump National Golf Club at the center of the earthquake in New Jersey.
Well, I picked a good spot to have an earthquake, you know. They're not going to pick it at some loser golf club. It's going to be my golf club.
Holy fuck, yeah. Well, I mean, hey, yeah. If this is not foretold, then I don't really know what is, right? That they pick literally Trump's golf course to have the fucking earthquake at. And when there's any damage, probably. You can't make this stuff up even if you tried. Was this intentional weather manipulation? It's at the very least a fucking great meme. I'll say that much. But is this to do with the eclipse? Now, I was reading through some threads of people arguing. There was a gentleman who was an atmospheric meteorologist who was calling a bunch of people idiots for thinking that the eclipse couldn't have any effect on the planet whatsoever to like affect earthquakes. And there were some other people who chimed in as well, who maybe were not quite as credited, but had some backgrounds in geology that kind of contended, well, actually, maybe there could be some kind of effect, because we do know that the eclipse does have a small effect on tides. And the moon, of course, has to do with our tides, right? It's a source of tides on the planet. So maybe the eclipse does have some small effect to some degree. Maybe that could be a force that would kick off this happening. And again, it's the hubris sometimes where we're so convinced that there would be absolutely no effect, but in actual fact, maybe there is some small effect. So anyway, just still one of those crazy coincidences that did occur, right? And has riled people up, hence why we're talking about this right now. A region that hasn't had an earthquake in 100+ years gets an earthquake directly in the path of the solar eclipse. Now, I would probably say, I don't know, is that complete? Has that area not had one in 100 years? I don't know if that's completely true. Quebec just had one. Now, I'm somewhat familiar with this site. So let's go do this, shall we? Catalog. Let's go back 30 days. Let's go to custom. Let's go back to 2012. And let's go. Ooh, probably should draw a rectangle for that because I don't want to get all of them. Let's do this. And let's do this. And let's search and see. Oh my. Might be taking a while to load. Might have to. Oh, Jesus. Okay. So as you can see, there's been tons of earthquakes that have happened around this area in the last fucking 10 years. So, but actually, it does appear that potentially this was the largest that they've had. So then, okay, I guess that isn't incorrect technically, but there was a 4.1 in 2017 in Delaware. I felt like there was like a 5.0. There's a 5.1 in North Carolina back in 2020. So you can see here's the whole map. I don't know. There's been lots of fucking activity. Electromagnetics are lack thereof from the sun doesn't impact gravity. Understand? Is that not true? No, there was a total eclipse in less 10 years and it was no big deal. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, the earthquake in New York is more sus. You think so? Doesn't imply that there's actually something that's going to happen? I mean, you can see here. So this is 12 years of earthquakes that have happened in this area. Some pretty big ones, but I guess this one was up there, and this area, I guess, really, at least in the last 12 years, it was the largest. So yeah. Well, I mean, anyway.
Maybe. Are you suggesting that there might be some work from HARP involved here?
Oh man, the HARP thing, I'm not. So the amount of energy required to actually cause something like that, to have a large earthquake or even like a tornado or a hurricane, like the energy you're dealing with there is insane. Like I would definitely say probably unequivocally beyond anything we would be able to fucking generate. At least harness and use. Yeah.
Should we probably explain what HARP is if there's anybody that's unaware? I don't remember the acronym is.
Well, we can find out right now. We don't have to wait.
It's like high something, 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 something.
High frequency
something.
active Oriole research program. Yeah.
Yes. The meme, if you will, or the conspiracy, if you will, is that this has weather manipulation technology somewhere in it. And that often a lot of people that were talking about earthquakes that would happen in places like Haiti or some places in the United States and say it was the work of HARP.
Yes.
It was all orchestrated.
Yeah. And I guess Mythbusters prove you can shake a bridge with the smallest resonant force. Interesting. Yeah, I guess, are they causing massive earthquakes? How the fire, the antenna, they can direct it. Yeah, I don't know. Ultimately, I don't know. Right? That's the gist of it. I would bet probably they wouldn't be able to cause an earthquake with it, but maybe, yeah, or like create a tornado. Yeah.
If I may interject, I'm going to say the meme. It sounds like you don't know.
It does, yeah.
See, I put a spin on it there.
That's great. You twisted it a little bit. Yeah, I like that. Yeah. It sounds like and I really don't know. Yeah. I think we've explained where that came from, have we not? Pretty sure.
Oh, yeah, it had to do with you would talk to our mutual philosophy professor.
Yeah.
And you'd be talking about Nibiru. And you would always end the statement as, "But I don't know." And he would retort, "But it sounds like you do, though."
Yeah. And that's the problem, though, with that, is what does sound like you do. But when in actual fact you know that you don't, then that might be kind of problematic. That if you're trying to say, if you sound like you do, because it's like, well, I don't, though. It's like, well, it sounds like you do know. It's like, well, I don't know. So then where are we now? Am I speaking with too much conviction? Is that a problem?
I think the correct response would be, as you say, "But I could be wrong."
But I could be wrong. Yeah, exactly.
I think would be the correct response to it. It's kind of like that. All the people that say, "I think this is true," or "I believe this is true." Right. All the people that say, "I believe this is true," you go like, "Well, do you actually think it's true or not?" Because a belief implies that there's no particular reason why you think it's true. It's like a hunch or something.
Right.
You're putting faith, because faith exists like outside the realm of what you would call logic, because logic would,
yes,
say that there's some particular reason, whether it's like a notion, a hunch, or there's some other event that you connect to another event that would lead you to make this kind of conclusion. I think that's how that goes. I've been thinking about that again lately, and I've got my mind twisted all around it.
We've talked about this before. Yeah, it's why I'm very careful not to say I believe things either, because
I don't say that anymore either.
Yeah, I say, well, I believe this is, well, no. It's, you could say I think, right? I'm thinking about it, right? But to say you believe in it has like an element of faith involved. And in regards to like things that you're trying to research or things that you're trying to like logically think about, it's careful not to use that kind of rhetoric, I think, where it could imply that maybe there's nothing really behind it other than like a hunch, or when in actual fact you might have actually spent more time and have more grounding there. But not that there's a problem with faith, right? I think it's impossible for people to live a life without faith or to believe in things. But in regards to this, so here they are leaving the blood on the lintel, the door, I guess. Here the angel, you see the blood, covenant messenger. Yes. Anyway, this obviously gets into what we're doing, kind of was getting into, because I think people were tying this event, right, to like Revelations, to biblical scripture. We were trying to kind of get into that to the best of our ability here.
If you want to go back into Revelations, there's another thing that's going to happen after the eclipse.
What is that?
If you want to, I posted a link to you.
Oh, good Lord. Oh.
Yeah, what is this picture of now?
The bugs.
What's a picture of this now? This is
cicadas.
What you call it? Cicada. Yeah. So every so often, they said there would be many trillions of cicadas.
Oh my fuck!
So there's 2 cycles of cicadas that I guess hatch. That hatch. There's cicadas that follow a 13-year cycle and cicadas that follow a 17-year cycle. And every so often, when you find the common denominator with the cicada cycles, you get a double mega brood. That happens only once every 221 years. So, what does this mean? Well, cicadas they're not gonna mess with people. They might be big and ugly and dumb looking. And but they're not harmful to people. And they sometimes now this says that they could. In this article that I'm looking at, it says that they're confused with locusts. That their potential harm to plants isn't actually that serious. No need to break out insecticides. The only thing that happens with cicadas is that they can be very loud. So their buzzing reaches up to 106.7 decibels. Now, I'm not sure what the scale of that would be, but here's a little link for it. So that puts it in the ballpark of very loud, in that it could be dangerous with over 30 minutes of exposure to it.
Seriously? What?
Yeah, that's what it says. So if you go to the article and you click on the 106.7 decibels, it'll give you, if you scroll down a little bit, it'll give you a little layout of describing the chart of common sound. So, for instance, a faint sound, which would be leaves rustling, would have decibel of 20. A loud sound would be like an alarm clock, or traffic, or vacuums. And then very loud, which they say is dangerous if you're exposed to it for over 30 minutes, would be somewhere between 90 to 110. So concerts would be at 110. Car horns or sporting events are at 110. Lawnmowers would be at like 90. And cicadas fall at 106.7. So technically, yes, exposure to the cicadas buzzing could be problematic.
Be like a chainsaw going on in the background. Fucking bugs. Holy shit. That's pretty crazy, huh?
Yeah, they're supposed to be very loud. I didn't know what the number was, but I knew that cicada buzzing was very loud.
Could you imagine, sorry, go ahead.
Oh, the researchers at UConn or the University of Connecticut are predicting the emergence of trillions of cicadas, the red-eyed chirping winged insects across the United States this spring. Don't worry, they won't be all coming out at once or in the same region. That the cicadas, members of the, it goes in with the bugs there, the Hemiptera, along with stink bugs, bed bugs, and aphids, spend as long as 17 years underground before emerging as adults. This year, the bugs will dig their way to freedom across 1.5 million acres throughout the eastern United States, an area roughly the same size as the state of Delaware. So they expect that there's going to be trillions of these, and this is the rare double cicada megabrood emergence that will happen.
Could you imagine if the Nibiru does show up tomorrow and then it's in the sky with all the cicadas, and it would literally feel like the Exodus. It would feel like some plagues occurring. It'd be fucking, yeah, man. The wings are cool, huh? Wow.
They're some of them are super big, but I don't know if those are the ones that are around here or not. But
can you eat them?
Yeah. Probably.
Is it bugs? Is these some of the bugs?
You might be able to eat the bugs here.
We're gonna have some bugs. Collect cicada shells from trees and hang them from my shirt. Underrated summer activity.
Now I don't know if these are if these are everywhere around, but we get a bug called June bugs that we call June bugs around here.
Oh Christ, yes.
Now June bugs are harmless, but they're big and obnoxious, and they're kind of like a little bit spooky.
They get stuck in your hair. They'll fly into your hair.
They get stuck in your hair. Now, if you're not a fan of June bugs, you're probably not going to be a fan of cicadas.
Yeah, fuck yeah. You can tie a string to them and fly them like kites. If you got 1,000 of them, could you actually fly with them? Who's gonna try that? God damn. Some of them look cool, actually. Look, those ones have a metallic shell. Never seen those before. Green June beetles. We get the lame fucking brown ones that you just step on instantly. Just crunch. They didn't come out the last year or the last 2 years. I haven't seen them.
Is that right? I thought I didn't see them either, but I figured that's because I was indoors earlier in the evening than I had been before.
Yeah. So yeah, it's just the 10 plagues of Egypt, right? During the Exodus.
Yeah.
So this is a progression. So first the waters turn to blood. Then they have the frogs, the gnats, lice, flies, disease on livestock, unhealed boils, hail and fire, locusts, darkness, and death of the firstborns. So a couple reasons why. So this is, again, we're not saying this is going to fucking happen, obviously, but like the memeing that's going on in regards to some of the stuff, especially when we get into like revelations with the dragon and whatnot. This is a Velikovsky kind of Ben, but he thought that the waters could have turned bitter red due to oxidized iron being wafted onto the earth. If we look at the moon, if you see an actual image of the moon that isn't like bright, you see an actual photo of the moon, it's actually covered in oxidized iron. And how the iron oxidized there, we don't know. There isn't liquid water on the moon. There is potentially water in rocks on the moon, but we don't know how the iron on the moon oxidized. So one of the explanations put forth by Velikovsky, who had some kind of connection predicting some of these celestial events, right? Whether it's a temperature on Venus or that Jupiter was emitting radio noises, was that some object wafted this oxidized iron from the asteroid belt onto the moon and onto Earth. And when it wafted onto Earth, it turned the waters bitter red and undrinkable, obviously. So that this was the beginning of this cycle happening during the Exodus, where this planet returned. And that the first thing that happened was it got wafted by the tail of the planet, and then this oxidized iron fell, and that was the beginning of this cataclysm that was about to ensue. And then wildlife essentially got disturbed, and then fire started raining down as all the trash in the tail, as the object passed us, the trash in the tail started pelting the earth. And Velikovsky kind of implied potentially there was like a Hapgood-esque event that occurred where the poles were affected, or the Earth's rotation was affected, as this is potentially implied, and that there was darkness and then death. And anyway, whether that actually occurred or not, who knows? But this is something that he had put forward to potentially tie the Exodus to an actual celestial object. And he's not the only one. There's tons of people. I was just watching a really good Randall Carlson interview I'd posted on the Discord, but he had talked about this as well, where, I mean, when you have kind of an all-encompassing apocalypse like this, there's really celestial objects would make sense, especially when you're having things like darkness and hail and fire and just a general disruption of the area. Like what else? It's something that's cyclical as well. I mean, it would make sense, right? As it up in the heavens, I mean, things happened on a clock, right? They're ever revolving, right? Especially things within an orbit. That it would make sense that you would be able to predict these things happening again because they happened before, because, you know, what goes around comes around, right? Unless something's in an incredibly unstable orbit and it just comes in for a one-time thing and flies off, which is actually, in fact, what Velikovsky thought had happened, but there were later interpretations that potentially pointed to being cyclical. So anyway, yeah, very interesting. So is the cicadas connected? No, it was a 200 year cycle, they said, I think. So like we know
There's
these
221 year cycle for the mega brood, or the double mega brood.
The rare double mega brood. So every 221 years. So another coincidence, I'm sure. How many coincidences have to pile up before there's something weird going on? Now that's the question. How many? What's the actual number?
It doesn't matter how many pile up, but what matters is if you're told to consider them.
Here, I'm gonna Google it right now. I just saw that. Yeah.
If you could get 600,000 coincidences, and then somebody would be like, "No, there's nothing there. It's just a coincidence."
Cicada 301 is a nickname given to 3 sets of puzzles posted on the name. Yes, we covered this. This is that little documentary we watched on here.
Yeah,
I remember that. Maybe not a coincidence. Yeah. Where was it? Here I learned the difference between locusts and grasshoppers. That's a good question, actually. Did you? Locusts versus grasshoppers. Yeah. Are the same in appearance, but locusts can exist in 2 different behavioral states, solitary and gregarious, where most grasshoppers do not. The population density is low. Locusts behave as individuals, much like grasshoppers, but they'll turn into a swarm when they get hungry, when their bellies is hungry. Yeah, locusts and each other, grasshopper. Or did they actually turn into one another? I didn't know that much. I thought they were different. Solitarius gregarious, low fat deposits, high fat deposits. Interesting. They run into food, transform, then feed off themselves and migrate. What the fuck? Bugs are so fucking weird, man. Like, what in the actual Christ? Well, it's like, really, though.
Is an alien species?
Well, it kind
a
of
terrestrial alien
It
species.
is. Cicadas versus locusts. So cicadas are just loud and fucking annoying, and locusts are an actual potential plague. So that's
The locusts are the ones that will eat all the plants and like crops and whatnot.
right.
Cicadas supposedly do not do that. Now there have been some people that have been making the claim. I'm not sure based on what, but have been making the claim to say that these are not cicadas that are going to awaken. They are, in fact, the locusts of the biblical plagues.
Fuck. Jesus. Here, let's hear how loud they are. Are you louder than a cicada? Interesting.
It is early in the emergence of brood 10. I have a decibel meter, and we're going to do some background noise checks. When I speak, it goes up into the 70s. When we get a little truck traffic come by, it stays in the 60s to 70 decibels. We are on the corner of Minstrel Way and Snowden River Parkway. We have a reasonable volume of traffic out here.
Like this
and
guy's
give
mustache.
you a decibel reading on that.
It's kind of out of control.
83 is our max. We are at CA's maintenance shop on Gerwig Road, and we have one of our lawn mowers here. I'm gonna have Tony crank this up. That reads 99 decibels.
Okay, yeah.
So today is June 1st. It's 2 o'clock in the afternoon. We are in open space over in Owen Brown, and we've come out to measure the sounds cicadas are making. It has reached a fairly high level. I think you can hear it on the video, and I'm going to turn on our decibel meter, and we'll see what we get. So I'm getting a maximum of 85 decibels, although it is moving around. We are in King's Contrivance, measuring cicada noise.
Okay.
And we've measured an 85.9 decibels, which is our high point to date.
So they're fucking saying, hold on, these things could potentially go up in this megahertz up to like 106 decibels? Holy shit. A true cacophony. A cacophony of the end times? Holy shit. Where was that? Yeah, 106, like they said. So hold on, boundaries are approximation. So Galentv will be safe up here in New Brunswick. But for
it looks
else,
like this is a United States problem.
yeah, this is for you guys down there. Good fucking
This might
luck
not be a Canada problem.
Yeah, it's too cold up
Well,
there for those motherfuckers.
I mean, even if they did, wildfires will take care of them. You know,
well, that's true.
be
Well,
no
yeah,
big, no big deal.
we're just assuming everything's going to be on fire again because that's what happened last time. Yeah. However that happened, how did that happen? Wow, that's funny. It's almost like we needed to convince people for the carbon tax, right? Everything's burning, just keep it, all right? Like everything's burning again, everything's still on fire again. Oh my god. Yeah.
Do you remember the heat wave that Vancouver had like a couple years ago? They said they were recording like temperatures up to like 47 degrees Celsius. They said it was hotter than anything recorded in the state of Nevada.
Holy fuck.
And at that time, I think it was the British Columbia government, they said, look, folks, you can't be turning on your air conditioners, okay? There's just not enough power. So they had people say, I think there were a few people that did actually die as a result of like overheating.
Oh yeah, I fucking believe it.
In that around yeah, I think it was around Vancouver, but I might be mistaken on that.
Man, I just fuck that. Really the sound with walking the railroad tracks on the hottest days of summer. I have similar memories, I guess not with cicadas, but we have like similar bugs up here where they make kind of same noises. Did June bugs make noise, don't they? Did June bugs?
I don't think June bugs do, but
just crunching sounds as you walk over them.
yeah, maybe. Or they make a little buzzing sound when they fly into you.
I wonder
There
if
you
I wonder what June bugs would taste like. I'm not on board with like eats and bugs at all, but like there's a lot of meat on those fuckers. Like you could probably get like maybe like you get 20 of them. You put them in a blender. Like that's quite a meal. How many how many calories? How many calories are in a June bug? Oh my god, this is very strange. That doesn't make any sense.
200
Calories in
calories?
June bug. Okay, the average cricket provides 12.9 grams of protein. Looking for even less fat, try a June bug. 13.3 grams of protein with only 1.4 grams of fat. It's true, bugs are... Is that per fucking June bug? There's 13 grams of protein? Hold on.
Where's the protein contained? So I read that one of the problems with using like insect protein is that you have to find a way to
get it.
To get it, because it's mostly contained in the chitin of the bugs, and that does not digest well. So what happens is that when you end up eating like crickets, if they're not made in the correct way, that you pretty much are just eating like pure sugar.
Oh,
from what I've heard, yeah.
So they said a June bug isn't commonly analyzed for its nutritional content. Well, but these are difficult times. Yeah, grind them up like flour. That's what I'm saying. I'll throw them in the blender. Like you throw them in my goddamn Ninja, put that thing on high, it'll chew up just about anything. 20 June bugs. We'll find out. We'll get the boys at the gym on the June bug fucking protein. Why are you paying $60 for a jug of protein powder when there's all this free protein out on the fucking lawn?
That's if it's not done correctly. So I think you have to I think like cricket like protein powder is supposedly like is like the way that you do it. But I guess like you see the people that have like the crickets are like fried and put into like a bowl or something, and then you eat them like that. I guess that has next to no nutritional value. That's what I read. Now, I don't know how true that is, and I could be very wrong on that, but that is what I read. That's what I remember reading.
Interesting. I asked it how many June bugs would I theoretically have to eat to maintain a body weight of 200 pounds. So a male body needs about 56 grams of protein per day, according to general nutritional guidelines. Athletes may need more, so daily protein requirement. Protein content in June bugs roughly similar to that of crickets, about 12.9 grams of protein per 100 grams. Oh shit, hold on. There's 12.9 grams of protein per 100 grams. How much does a fucking June bug weigh? How much does a June bug... Well, I'm trying to find out here in a second. Oh shit. Alright. Let's find out. We'll do cicadas after. I'm assuming cicadas are similar protein content. To meet your daily requirements... Yeah.
Cicadas are like twice as big, at least.
Yeah. You need to consume... you need to consume... So to maintain a body weight of 200 pounds, you need to consume approximately 1,881 June bugs per day. Based on the assumed protein content similar to crickets. Holy fuck. You have to eat close to 2,000 of them. Would this potentially affect the ecosystem if I did this?
And you'd have to eat 686,565 June bugs a year.
Oh god. Consuming 1,800 June bugs daily can potentially impact local ecosystems depending on several factors. Their population density, role in the ecosystem, they're particularly in the larval stage, serve as food source for various animals. If June bugs can reproduce at a rate that outpaces the consumption, it might impact and minimize seasonal variations. Interesting. Mature insects are proposed as sustainable food sources due to their high protein content and low environmental footprint. Large-scale consumption of wild insects without regard to the population dynamics and ecological roles could disrupt local ecosystems. Well, it'd be like, did we really need them anyway? Like, we'll move on to the fucking crickets and grasshoppers. We'll just eat our way through the bug kingdom, right? And then we'll end up eating mosquitoes. That'll be one way. To maybe finally mosquitoes probably wouldn't be a good thing to eat, honestly. You'd probably get like AIDS or something doing that. Yeah.
Well, do you remember the
Skiz0? Yes, 5S. Yeah.
The Zika virus that was going around like a few years ago?
Yes, I remember that. Yeah, Zika. Was that to do with fucking mosquitoes?
Yeah.
Isn't it actually Zika virus?
Yeah, it would do with mosquitoes. I'm fairly certain that was the case.
Oh, fuck. Oh, it shrinks like the baby's head and stuff.
Yeah.
Oh, man. Oh, that's terrible. What the hell? Oh, that's... I remember seeing those guys, like, on YouTube. Is that actually what causes it? Is a virus by mosquitoes? Oh, that's terrible. Oh, Jesus, yeah. Man, they can't... Well, they do, though. Like there's that video of that guy. Yeah, it was mosquitoes, said. Okay, yeah. No, fuck. Okay, yeah. Oh, that's terrible. Yeah. Fuck, man. Fuck mosquitoes. I don't think mosquitoes, I mean, they're for food? Like, are mosquitoes... mosquitoes, no, it'll figure it out. Necessary.
I remember hearing on the CBC one day there was a fellow that was on the news, and I can't remember if it was on one of those morning programs or whatnot, but he made the wild claim. This is around the height of the Zika scare, or the Zika virus scare, is that he said that they were looking for a way that if they could eradicate all mosquitoes on the planet, they would do that. Because they said, it just wouldn't really affect the, in my expert opinion, it wouldn't really affect the ecosystem that much. The world can survive without mosquitoes. Now, I'm not a biologist. I don't know. But that doesn't sound like a good idea, as much as we hate mosquitoes.
Yeah. I mean, but you have to remember, too, that our Earth has gone through cycles where we have lost 90% of all species. And we bounce back. So as
long as
losing
that
one?
What? As long as that one species survives, it'll be okay.
Yeah, or whatever the minimum amount of species was, like 10%, I guess. I don't think maybe we
one.
haven't gone below 10%. Yeah.
The human species. As long as we survive, it will be okay.
Yeah, that's exactly it. How many dinosaurs after the dinosaurs? How many species were left? So that was a big extinction. Oh, the KT extinction. There were more than 18,000 bird species alive today. It estimated that 75% or more of all species on Earth vanished. Really? So, like, you just lose one. Yeah, fish and frogs eat the larvae from the lake, so you can eat their other shit. Right. So, but again, if they'll just eat other stuff, right? Like, they'll figure it out. Over 99% of all species that ever... That's a crazy fact. It is estimated that over 99.9% of all species that ever lived are extinct. The average lifespan of a species is 1 to 10 million years, although this varies widely between taxa. A variety of causes can contribute directly. That's insane. That's actually a crazy...
We're doing pretty good as the apex predator here.
Oh, fuck. I mean, tardigrades have been around a long time. So they're one of the oldest, actually. And they're on you right now, probably. That's how they survive.
Oh, yeah, those things can survive, like, everything.
Yeah, they're just fucking stupidly strong. 250 million years ago was when we lost 90% of all species. That was during the Great Dying, is what they call it.
The Great Dying.
The Great Dying, yes, where everything fucking
They've only lost 9.9% since then. We've been doing pretty good those last 250 million years.
Yeah, fuck. We're hanging on. Absolutely. Well, Galentv, I think, is that all we have to really say on this?
This is a good place to stop.
Yeah, I was gonna say, yeah, this is probably a good place to stop. I guess I'll have to get this tomorrow night. I'm gonna post this in the Discord there, Drunk, just so I remember to get to this because I wanted to talk about it. Yeah, well, for everybody watching, thank you for coming around. Listen, hopefully we don't end up in some kind of fucking apocalypse tomorrow. Hopefully nothing appears with the eclipse. Hopefully Nibiru doesn't show up and there's some great red dragon sitting in the sky with a bunch of aliens that are like, whoops. I think more than likely what's going to happen is we're going to see something very cool for 4 minutes here. People that are in the kind of central United States, northeastern part of North America. And after that, we're going to go back to life as usual. And probably nothing will happen because it's typically what happens when these things occur is nothing cool. I mean, it's cool in and of itself, right? That's the thing. It doesn't necessarily have to be something crazy. Please don't scare me. Nibiru is not a planet. It's a plane of existence. Actually, Nibiru, the word means crossing in Samaria. Sumerian. It simply just means crossing.
Like the crossing of the eclipse paths?
Crossing of the ecliptic, yeah, and coming in to destroy the solar system. Maybe.
You know, take solace in this, though.
Yeah.
If nothing happens, we'll be here next week. If something does happen, we'll be here next week to talk about that.
That's true. And on that, everybody, take care. And don't look directly at the eclipse. But we'll talk to everybody soon. Until then, peace.
Streaming through the digital night, Jim Muscle, he's guiding the light, unveiling mysteries of the unknown, UFOs in the alien zone. He's a man on a mission, exploring ancient secrets, it's his addiction, debating, discussing with his loyal crew, cosmic conversations, unveiling the truth.